Not quite. It's 2:30. Order at 2:30. Got your mic on? Mic's on? Mic's on. Okay. We have a special meeting notice and we'll start with the pledge of allegiance. Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, stands one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. And roll call. Treasurer Huff.
Here.
Trustee Monet.
Here.
Treasurer Bertrand.
On vacation, in protest, here.
And Clerk Kern. Okay, I'd like to make a motion to defer to Trustee Monet because Supervisor is on vacation to do a moderator from this meeting. For this meeting. Do I have a second?
Second.
And a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? We'll continue.
Very good. Thank you all for being here. Before I get into what I have to say, because it always seems to be a lot, I want to defer to the other board members to give their opinions about what we're here for today. And it is strictly to vote on how this board is going to move forward with the implementation, the drafting, and the oversight of short-term rental permits. So before I go into my plethora of information, Clerk Kern, Treasurer Hops, or even Supervisor Bertrand.
I'll wait till board comments.
We are in board comments.
Well, thank you for announcing.
We are in board comments.
Not right away. I don't know quite what's going on, so I'd rather hear them explain why we're here.
Would you like me to take that?
Sure.
Okay. So after the hearing, I really appreciate all the input. There was a lot of information. I've worked on this for months and months and months. We're here to make a determination today because we need to get this thing moving. And from my understanding, if the supervisor will not call a meeting, I'd like to read you to make sure that everyone understands for complete transparency how we got here. This is the revised statutes of 1846, section 4172A. Special meeting of the township board shall be held at the time fixed by the board at a meeting or when the supervisor considers it necessary. Upon call of the supervisor, the township clerk shall give notice of the time and place of the meeting to each member, either in person or by leaving a written notice in at the member's address. A special meeting, which is what we're here today for, of the township board shall be called by the township clerk upon receiving a written request for the meeting signed by a majority of the township board members. I took it upon myself to request a meeting. I drafted it. I signed it. Treasurer Hops signed it, and it was given to the clerk for his authorization. Therefore, we do have the majority, which is why we're here today. On top of that, I'm going to make it very clear. This is paragraph 4 in section 72A. And I'm pretty adamant about this, just to make sure everything's done what I deem to be the right way. I'm not going to speak for the others. So paragraph 4, the township board shall not transact business at a special meeting unless the business was stated in the notice of the meeting. However, if all the members of the board are present at a special meeting, business might lawfully come before a regular meeting of the board may be transacted at the special meeting. We do not have the entire board here today. Therefore, the only thing that we will discuss is this discussion and vote and how we want to proceed. The audience obviously can say whatever you want, but I'm going to advise the board to not answer any questions outside of the realm of what was posted, because we do not have the full board here to change that. And so, that being said, that's how we got here.
You're doing the moderating.
Yeah, I want board comments from, either Clerk Kern, Treasurer Hops, Supervisor Bertrand, if you'd like to chime in, absolutely.
Well, I just thought, and I still think that a combination of the police power is necessary along with the other portion that's going to say where the people are supposed to go and how they're supposed to go about getting permits in the zoning. And a combination of those, I think, is going to be the best benefit for this community. And that's what I'm here for. I'm just trying to make things good for everybody. One or the other didn't seem to be covering all the bases, and this combination seems to me.
Very good, thank you. Treasurer Hops?
Not really much to say. I know why we're here, what we're here for, and I'm all set.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, that explains a little bit. About 4 months ago, I stated I wasn't going to support knee-jerk reactions anymore. In regards to the meeting we had last week, I said I'd ask the law firm what their opinion was on blending a police power with a zoning short-term rental ordinance. So we're here 1 week later. I'm actually on vacation. A special meeting was called. So in between buying and selling muscle cars, I made it here. And apparently to make decisions without getting input from our legal municipal law firm on retainer. Apparently, the legal firm of Monet, Hops, Kern, Varda, Dennis, whoever else is given input here, feel that they don't need to hear the input from our legal firm on retainer in order to, in their opinion, represent the majority of the residents. I asked our attorney last week. I got an answer yesterday. Then I got his advice last night. And again this morning. So I'm going to read that. I asked him if it's still in here. About blending. Okay. So here's his answer. I asked him for his thoughts on it. A blend is certainly possible. At the very least, if you create a police power licensing ordinance, you will still need to amend the zoning ordinance to allow for the use, like with the chickens. Even though we had a chicken license, we still had to change the zoning to let it comply with the zoning ordinance. But that zoning portion is preferably, and he's referring to short-term rental, very limited, so that we do not give any indication of lawful, non-conforming, or grandfathering protection, which means if we use zoning and they're involved in a short-term rental and have a license, we will not be able to pull that license if we change anything. We could pull it if they violate the agreement, but they are grandfathered in. This is him speaking. I have some townships, have had some townships vote to limit it to commercial districts only, basically shut down the entire market. But that is what they wanted to do. They don't want any short-term rentals. For those who weren't here last week, we decided we're going to pursue short-term rentals. If you want to allow for them in some capacity, you will want to allow in at least some of your residential areas, as that is where everybody wants to do it. Courts are quite well settled that short-term rentals are not a residential use and can be outright prohibited in residential areas. Legislator is always cooking up something behind closed doors. Short-term rentals, they have been working on for years and no law has been passed yet. But if someone with deep enough pockets puts their mind to it, I'm sure they could have a short-term rental preemptive law passed in a week. Okay, then he's saying, sorry it took so long, they've been busy. So I replied in a text earlier today. It's hard to get him on a string and keep him there. But I managed to do that. He's good. He helps us out a lot. Make sure I'm starting in the beginning here. Okay, so this is me. So your advice, police power or blended short-term rental as far as less legal hassle and pitfalls. Can we just do police power first, ignore the planning commission version and amend the police power in the future to include some zoning restrictions if needed? Here's his answer. I think no matter what you do with short-term rentals, it is a legal hassle. Everyone missing out on the big bucks will challenge you or sue you if they don't get to do what they want with no rules or restrictions. I believe police power or very slightly blended with zoning is the best way. Zoning to allow it subject to getting a permit under police power ordinance. Then in police power, you can set whatever kinds of rules you want. I heard earlier something about we need zoning to have rules. We don't, you can do it all under police power. That's me. But the stricter they are, the more likely someone will be grumpy enough to sue you. I said, thanks. If someone sues because they were excluded using zoning, it would likely be somebody with the money to make it stick. What are their chances? Police power, everybody can do, this is still me, everybody can do short-term rental. We can weed out the bad ones by permit violations. Who sues us then? His answer. Lawsuit, you never know. The law is in our favor, but a judge might own a short-term rental or have friends who do, or hate township government. Rule in their favor anyway. People can sue for anything. They could say police power rules are too restrictive, say they deserve a permit and we didn't give them one, say they were unfair in calling out violations. So that's the legal advice. After reading that and digesting it, the only reason that this board would complicate this issue by handcuffing ourselves to zoning again, instead of just doing police power, is to restrict short-term rentals in R1. Based on the lawsuits and the special interest group pressure, I'm going to ask the board, who are you planning to eliminate from short-term rentals if you do zoning? That's the only reason to do it. So police power is cleaner, easier. It's easier to modify, easier to control for now. Again, who's getting restricted? Who are you going to tell? Everybody can have them in R1, but you. Again, we have a firm, a municipal law firm, that's their advice. The firm of Ops, Monet, Pern, whoever else, I get it. My problem is now you jump to a knee-jerk reaction right now before we ever even got their advice. And my personal feeling, that suits your personal agendas. I represent the residents. I'm the legal agent. I'm going to ask the lawyer. I'm going to take some time. So, thank you.
I guess I will make a comment now after hearing that. I don't know what you mean by the law firm, but we are here because you dragged your feet for 6 months. And then when we do come to a meeting, you bring up police powers and nothing else to vote on. Which was to this meeting.
We've had the short-term rental back from the planning commission for about 4 months. I have had many conversations with you and Mr. Pern, and some even with Mr. Monet, individually, short of violating any open meeting acts. I've learned over time that, you know, the conversations, what I hear is not always where people land in the end. That's okay.
Yes, you are correct.
What I am saying is that I think this got off track way too fast because I actually don't know that you or Mr. Pern completely understand what we're talking about here. Without naming a name in particular, after our last meeting, one of you said, all I want to do is go back to the original one and tweak it. The only way you can do that is under police power. But we voted that you didn't want to do police power. Anyway, that's the attorney's recommendation. He's basically saying, if you're going to do it, you could put a little tiny bit in there, but the only reason is to say notice. Who are you saying no to? Lakefront owners, backlotters, somebody within 500 feet? Where's all that thought and planning?
Well, if I can chime in, I don't appreciate the sarcasm at all about the Monet, Hobson, Pern law firm, because we used part of Mr. Bila's return answer in the zoning and the police power thing. We have it in print. And he says, this could be done, this could be done, this could be, he can change his mind. Certainly, depending on how the question was going to be, but we're trying to get a direction here where we can get everything. I wasn't trying to eliminate anybody or trying to make anybody whole one way or another. And I'm not for the lakefront owners. And I'm not for any special interest group. I'm just trying to figure out what's the best way for us to go. And for you to come in and say something like that, I think that's totally off the wall.
And that's me. I know you know me, and I do that. But what you just said, if you're going to use zoning, you're going to tell somebody that can't do it. So who are you going to tell? If you're not doing zoning, everybody does it. The initial plan was, we can do this, we can see how many we got, we can weed bad ones out. If down the road it turns out we got a big old mess, we can restrict it. You can do all of that under police power without it. Do it at the drop of a hat. And I don't have a horse in here other than as legal agent, I always try and move towards what their opinion is. So I realize you called this meeting short. I managed to get an answer from him, and I'm here to give it to you. You guys do what you want to do.
Okay, thank you. Anything else? Okay, so I have quite a few things to say, and I will try to make it as simple as possible. But I'm going to jump around now based on Supervisor Bertrand's comments. I guess I'm a little befuddled because, as Clerk Pern said, exactly what Mr. Bila said is exactly what we're here for. I don't understand why there's so much contention and animosity, if you will, with the board. That's exactly why we're here. So jumping around, I'm going to go right into legal then. There's no question in my mind that everything and anything we do will have to be with legal approval, all of it, straight up and down. I received some information today, later yesterday and today, that I wasn't quite aware of, that the zoning aspect of it is very, very simple. It would be nothing more because let me backtrack. I found out that there may be a problem with what I had talked about, a special use exception, because special exception uses go with the property. And we could be locked into a legal liability by doing such. And there's a lot to it. And the idea of, if let's say we had 50 permits, 50 hearings is a lot. There's a lot of legal wrangling. So the legal scholars I talked to and spent over an hour on the phone with the Michigan Township Association, not for legal advice, but for procedural advice, is all we would have to do is make it a permitted use by right. But we have the legal authority under that limited action in zoning to say you can only be permitted if you meet the criteria, which would be a proper application, and pretty much the application, we're going to have distance in there. We're going to have how many. That is it. Every other activity will go under police power. Noise, restrictions, parking, your rights. I mean, but the idea of the little bit of that zoning end gives us the power and authority, and I hate the word power, so we'll just say the authority, to say where we're going to allow them and how much we're going to allow them. And I don't agree, and this is just my opinion based on my research, with Supervisor Bertrand's response to what or not response, but his reading what Mr. Bila said, because I haven't seen that. Because the courts have settled this. Because so under Section 203, paragraph 1 of the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, a zoning ordinance must be designed to promote goals, including the public health, safety, and general welfare, ensuring that land uses are situated in appropriate locations and relationships, and that is determined by the board. Any amendments will have to go through the same process. So even if we slightly go into zoning just for the restrictive nature of it, that all goes through planning commission and voting and everything else. What I don't agree with the comment that, like, who are you going to leave out? Doesn't matter. If we say there's 50, the courts have upheld, we have the right to do that, because also under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, totally prohibiting the establishment of a land use where it is possible to locate that use in the community. Oh, I think I messed up here. Sorry. I don't know if I copied the rest. Anyway, that is what exclusionary zoning is. Community, if you, the people that want short-term rentals, put forth an effort at the state to say, we're not allowing certain things based on a need in a tourist area, you have that right. And we're not excluding them. So the courts have ruled in the past that as long as you're not totally banning them based on your own criteria, I mean, I'm trying to like find that middle ground so we're safe there too. As far as just going straight police power, I totally disagree. I think it's disingenuous and I think it's disrespectful to people, because every township I've looked at, and there's hundreds now, short-term rental ordinances, they all have one thing in common. Based on permissive zoning upheld by the Supreme Court. I said this last time, November 22nd of 23. That which is not a listed use is prohibited. So when you have courts repeatedly, even though there's no law right now, but when you have courts upheld that or uphold that buildings in residential districts are either they've more often than not ruled one of two ways. It is a single residential dwelling, but used in a commercial manner, or it is a straight up commercial endeavor. So for me, anything that says that would open us up to lawsuits, because if I were you sitting there, I'd be suing us for allowing commercial endeavors as described by the courts in our residential districts. So if we're going to find any kind of middle ground out and have some restrictive nature and authority over this, the only way for me is to say that we have to get that little teeny bit of zoning in there for the regulatory authority and the restrictive nature of that. Police power doesn't get it for me. And after talking to a lot of people, everyone has said, yeah, nobody has put forth the effort to sue the township on that basis. Why? There isn't a case out there. Can't find one. They can't find one. So I'm not on board with anything that's a straight police power. Everyone doesn't make it right or illegal, in my opinion. So I'm going to backtrack to some things that I had put together. And thank you all again for being here. I want to get some clarification on the concerns and input from the residents. And I have to look at all of this. I have to leave my personal opinion out of this, but I do believe that if we're going to allow short-term rentals on any level, they have to be regulated. We have to protect the rights of people that live here year round. And we also have to look at the scope of what is necessary for the community. I really don't buy into the whole idea, but this is just a personal thing, the idea that let's say 20, 30 complaints come into the township that people want them banned. Well, if I just take a round even number and say there's 1,500 residents in Lyon Township, that means 1,430 didn't even care enough to complain because they don't care. And the only reason I say that is because there was an old adage all the years I was a barber, and it holds true in a lot of positions. Thank God I never did a bad haircut. But for every good haircut you do, you're lucky if one person hears about it. For every bad haircut you do, because it's human nature, people want to complain, 10 people hear about it. So I take it on face value, but I also realize the concerns of the residents, and we have to look at all of that. So, it's just, it's tough. I want to thank John Barter for his research. I did look at Crystal Lake Township that he mentioned at the hearing, and he talked about it being the gold standard. Actually, for a blended system, it actually isn't. I've spoken to them, or I looked at all their research online. I went through months and months and months of board meetings. Theirs is a straight police power. One of their board members made it clear during one of their meetings. They did not go through zoning at all. They did not go through planning commission. Therefore, by statute, it can't be a blended system because they didn't go through that process. I appreciate his efforts, but but it is a good, short-term rental ordinance. It's just straight police power that I'm not on board for. You got to remember too, this is the idea that yes, Supervisor Bertrand, the attorney, of course, are correct. Police powers are very easy. There's no input from you. That's it. We don't need planning commission. We don't need anything. We just change things at will. I don't like it. That's why that limited part of zoning I really like, because it will require a hearing to allow them in at all. And everyone can have a say. And then furthermore, on top of that, you as residents, and you should know this, have the right to protest and petition disagreeing with that zoning. It's not a done deal, which empowers you even more. And I think that's fair, but that's me. There were some things brought up about the planning commission that people are like, well, we're just not listening to the planning commission. Well, under statute, and I've asked the state about this and legal friends of mine, why are there planning commissions? You're not beholden to them. You don't have to do anything they say. I'm like, I don't even understand why they're there. But I get it, but I just don't understand that it's so open. So a township has, pretty much by statute, you have three choices when you go to planning commission for zoning only. It does not apply during police power, although you look at their recommendations and incorporate them, but it is not a guideline, a statute, or rule, or otherwise. So you have A, you can accept the recommendation as presented. You have B, you can deny and vote against the recommendation as presented. Or you can C, you can send back the recommendation back to the planning commission with further review and consideration to change and to have it aligned with what the board wants. This has come up a couple times too. I want to make this very, very clear that like many other townships, including Garish, we're not chasing down mom and pop rentals. No way. The Supreme Court has made it very clear, and appellate courts have made it very, very clear. The only ones they're concerned about are the ones that advertise online. And I do believe our ordinance should talk about that. Absolutely. If you're the casual runner, which it's been going on for generations, and you want to, like if my sister came to my place and I'm going to be gone for weeks and she wants to slip me some money, that's nobody's business. I'm not going to chase that down. I think that's ridiculous. I'm not advertising, I'm not whatever, but yeah, I don't feel the need that if a friend or a family friend or someone wants to, come to your home and, rent it for a week if you're gone, it's fine. I don't even think it's worth chasing down. There's been also things brought up to me, the difference between short-term versus long-term rentals. So we know the days, 29, 30 and under short-term. Now the state legislators are working on right now, actually a House bill to put a 6% use tax on long-term rentals as described right now on short-term rentals. So for me, I come back to that play about the commercial endeavors. Any endeavor in our community that has and is subject to a 6% use tax is commercial. There's no way around it. I don't care what anyone says, and it's just the way it is. I can't just go put a barbershop in my house and start paying taxes. I mean, it's all. So I think there's a lot to be said for what the courts have upheld, the lawsuits, what we have in our own ordinances. So to me, that defines that right there. We've already been through, definitely have to confirm everything, absolutely everything with legal. I'm still very disappointed as a whole that the state of Michigan, will let townships and its residents spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars every year litigating this, when all they have to do is look at their own rules. If it is open to that 6% use tax, it's commercial. Get the legislation out there so we can define it and understand what they want to deem as what short-term rentals are, and let's move on. So I don't understand that a lot. So something else was brought up about the idea of, master plans. This, yeah, there's no question it's time for our master plan to be looked at. But the idea, just because it doesn't mention short-term rentals in there, this doesn't mean much, but it is important, in my opinion. Section 2.5 under township goals and objectives. Another important community-wide goal of the township is to capitalize on the township's abundant resources for the purpose of creating an attractive community that meets the physical, social, and economic needs of its residents and businesses in an environmentally sensitive manner. So at one point, if we're not allowing, which I think there should be a play about this too, the idea that we shouldn't let anything be built by resolution for the sole intent of a rental, 100%. But further than that, I just think it needs to be highly regulated to protect the communities and such. Okay. Let me see what else.
Master plan is not on the agenda today, Tim.
No, I know, but it goes to,
Okay.
it goes to the point of, talking about zoning and police power, in my opinion, but
That's
that,
an opinion.
yep. So at the end of the day, that's why we came here. We need to have a direction. Nothing that happens today is finite. Nothing is set in stone. If it doesn't work, a true blended system where just that little piece of zoning, because of the restrictive nature of it and the idea that we can put in there that people have to meet certain criteria, including which wasn't in the draft and it needs to be in there. I was given this advice this morning, a time limit that they must renew. If you do not renew within that time limit, too bad. I hate to say it that way, but it's just the way it is. You'll get a renewal period, and that's it. Unlike the special exception use, which would be complicated because since that runs with the lands, we would not be able to pull it. And that's very legally complicated. So I guess I don't understand the notion of what Mr. Supervisor Bertrand said, that who are you going to leave out? I have read more police power ordinances who limited the number of licenses available. That's okay to leave them out that way, but it's not okay to leave them out if you're going to go through zoning to be more restrictive. I guess I don't get that comment at all, but that's, once again, that's my opinion. So here we are, and you guys have any?
Well, we
They've
did
been what-
down the police power. We didn't want a straight police power, so we're here to try to come up with a plan. Even using, the attorney, Biela's,
Absolutely.
some of his stories there that he sent back to us. We gotta work out a plan that's gonna have a combination. If we're not accepting the police power and are not accepting zoning,
Just
then
straight.
we gotta do something.
I mean, yeah,
I do have a couple more things to say and then I'll stop. Mr. Monet, we are not here to fight the state. In the past, there have been several times where you lean that way, and I get it. We're not here to fight the state. So if the bottom line is, why isn't somebody doing something about what happens in the state?
Yeah.
It means very little here. I would point out to everybody here that our legal firm, Bachman Thal, our attorney, Michael Biela, Bachman Thal also represents the Michigan Township Association.
absolutely.
I don't know where you draw and from who you talk to. But Mr. Biela is involved in the firm that represents him, so I don't think he's going to steer us wrong. Twice you mentioned, in regard to zoning, that little bit of zoning to decide where they are. Restrictive nature to decide where they are.
Absolutely.
You're saying a number. I'm not saying a number. I'm saying Where? Are you saying lakefront? Are you saying 500 feet?
We're not here to discuss the
Okay.
details.
Third, when you mentioned you were a barber, you had a license to be a barber, didn't you?
Absolutely.
Okay. Is it fair to say you don't have a license to practice municipal law?
Absolutely, I don't.
Okay.
But I know.
In closing, I'm going to follow our legal firm's advice. The suggestion is to do police power, add a little bit of zoning, only if we want to restrict who can get them.
I believe
If
that
you guys
just
are
said.
in that direction, then that's fine.
Once again, I believe, thank you, that I believe that is what I just stated, that I concur with Mr. Vila, that there will be just a little small, can't go any
No.
further.
Okay.
You just said, he said, even though he may want police power more, but he did say a very limited zoning.
If you want to restrict them. You want me to read it again? Do you
Well, what's the-
want to restrict them?
What's the whole point of regulation?
Well, that's a real good question. We started out saying there's no need to restrict this. We'll get started. We'll see how many we got. We'll weed out the bad ones and we'll see where we're at.
And that's
We're
restricted.
going into restrictive using zoning. Police power gives us much more freedom. I'm okay. Only that input needed to be, here. If it wasn't for the fact that Mr. Kern sent me this posting, you'd have never heard anything from our attorney. And you'd have made this decision today.
But the attorney said exactly what I
If
said.
that isn't, no, he didn't. If that isn't a knee-jerk reaction
Okay.
to this whole situation about short-term rentals, I don't know what it's. I'm done.
Huh. Interesting, because a motion and or resolution was passed that nobody can speak to the attorney but the supervisor. So therefore, maybe if I had a way with spending 7 months on this to talk to the legal, some of this could work out and I wouldn't have to talk to my legal friends, legal scholars, and get a lot of advice from Michigan Township Association, which we pay handsomely for their advice, and by resolution was passed by the prior board to follow their governance.
Okay, and every time we get here, you bring that up. And every time you do,
Because it has
it's a
relevancy.
conversation, we've solved this twice already.
Yeah.
If it's something that needs to go back to the board, I CC Mr. Kern in it. If it's not, I mean, I just got this stuff.
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay, I'm done. You guys decide what
Right.
you want to do. There's an easy way. There's a complicated way that's going to take forever that seems to challenge the state of Michigan. You take what you want to do.
Well, for the record, it doesn't challenge the state of Michigan because the state of Michigan gives us that authority. So by giving us that authority, we're just following the guidelines put in place if we want to add a little bit of zoning.
Stated as a good debater, and you are one.
Well, I mean, and I agree with Mr. Bielis. So once again, I don't understand why. I guess the difference is that I'll put it out there. You don't want any restrictions whatsoever. That's okay.
Starting point.
Okay. But starting points are still restrictive because you're going to have to go somewhere.
Police power for every regulation that we want to put into the process.
And that's what we'll be doing.
Okay.
The restrictive nature of the numbers.
It's
Yeah.
a back and forth between.
Absolutely. I want people to understand that.
Meaning you get the last word in.
No, not at all.
Let's
No.
go.
Nope.
I gotta pick the grandkids
All right.
pretty quick here.
I just want, like,
Come on,
I
vacation.
just want us to have a starting point. So we can move on. So we either engage the planning commission, we don't engage the planning commission. We have this part, but we're at a standstill. All this is about today is because I'm tired of the stalemate. There's no, for you guys, not for me, I don't have a short-term rental, but for the community, there's just, whether it's a starting point, straight police powers, if it doesn't work, a slate blended system, that's okay. We can change it. This is not the gospel truth here. So the idea, once again, those powers were granted to us by the state that we can change. So I don't know, Clerk Byrne, Treasurer Hobbs.
I would just like to say too that, this ordinance, once it's completed, will be enforced too. It's not like we're just gonna turn our cheek to any violations, and ordinance officer is well aware of that, and he's committed to that. So that's, I want people to know that too. Just because you have an ordinance, you still have to enforce it with violations and whatnot. So I just wanted to say that.
Right. Anything else from the board?
No,
All right, this time then, I'd like to move forward with a motion I drafted once again for the purpose of this meeting only. The Lyon Township Board will advance the drafting, implementation, oversight of a short-term rental ordinance by regulating a zoning use as outlined in ordinance number 55 of the Lyon Township Ordinance as dictated by Act 110 of 2006, the Zoning Enabling Act, in conjunction with the police power authority granted by the state Act 246 of 1945, the Township Ordinance Act, with all future regulations contained therein to be determined at the discretion of the Lyon Township Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion. Board discussion. Anyone?
Nope, I'm done.
All right. So hearing none, I would like a roll call on this, Clerk Plurn, please.
sure. Trustee Monet,
Yes.
Treasurer Huck,
Yes.
Supervisor Bertrand,
No,
and Clerk Kern, yes.
Motion carried. Okay. That being said, we are now open for public comments. Yes, ordinance officer. Well, you want to come up to the mic, Bill? Sorry.
is it red or is it not on?
Oh, I don't think it's on. Just push that little button in the center.
So the ordinance officer forces them?
Yeah, absolutely. If we go slightly zoning.
Don't have to be certified police officer.
No, police, under state statute, the authority is granted to an ordinance officer, thus that they have the right to write citations, give out violations, the whole 9 yards, because we don't have a police presence. And it was put into ordinance. I don't remember the year right now, but I do have a copy of that ordinance.
Well, I know we don't have a police department. We used to.
I know.
We do have a violations.
Yep, yep.
Which.
Yep.
If our ordinance officer writes them, we get it instead of going to the court.
Yeah,
Okay, that's all.
thank you, Bill. Anyone else? Going once?
Police power. That's why one quick question. Power. Does that mean funding it or anyone in the short-term rentals then?
Yeah, we still can limit the number. Mhm.
What is the number?
We don't know that we're, no details yet. Nope. This is why we're doing this today, to give us a direction to start with something. Just something, even though there's drafts out there, but is that going to suit the needs of the community? I'm not sure. We'll have to see.
Just for the rent.
Yeah, we had a resident last year. She spent 2 days going through everything online. She found 69, not last year, excuse me, fall of 24. So yeah, we'll definitely have to look into that too. No question. Yeah, there may be now. Yep.
I'm gonna have to leave
Yep.
because I'm on
Yeah.
vacation, but in reference to what you asked, as the ordinance officer and as Bruce is doing it now, if there's a complaint about anything and you put it in writing, there is that which will be able to stand. I've always encouraged people that call the police too, because if you have a police report too, that adds a little bit more weight to it. I had a conversation a year ago with the sheriff's department. Since then, I think they got a little better at coming out for us. But again, on a big weekend when they're busy running around, hard telling.
Yeah. And as far as I know, yeah,
It got a little better, but well, depending on if you assume that it was a lie or not. I was told twice, the lady, they had problems 2 nights in a row, called them. Police came both times and shut it down. I asked for the police reports, never heard from her again. Who knows? Anyway, I'm sorry, not that your input isn't important, but I More important things to
Yeah.
do than my grandkid in a muscle car.
Thank you. Yeah. Anyone else? Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, at least it's me not talking,
Just
right?
to be fair, we're trying our best. We're trying our best to get the public input and to do the best for everybody we can. And sometimes it falls on deaf ears. I think you can see that from some of the meetings we've had. That's too bad, but, the votes are the votes. You know, and that's what we're gonna come up with. Police power went down in flames by itself. By itself. With a combination, I think we can work something out.
I'm hoping.
Okay, sorry, man, go ahead.
Mike, do this all day, aren't you? Patty Dombrowski, Lyon Township. And I also want to thank you. I'm well aware
You're welcome.
how many hundreds of hours, months of research and time that you've put
Thank
into
you.
this.
Yeah.
You're not allowed to talk to our attorney, and yet we have someone who's in the middle between the attorney and giving information to the board, information to us. I would like to posit a suggestion here
Yeah.
going forward.
Yep.
Since we're going with the limited zoning, looking at police powers,
We're just looking at it. We're not, it's not finite.
we're going on that.
Yes.
I personally am comfortable with anybody else on the board leading this issue going forward, if it's not you.
Appreciate that.
I'm really over micromanaging.
Sounds like a tough break to me. 'Cause that's not gonna happen. There's 5 people, there's 5 votes.
No, I absolutely understand. I
Just want to get this straight.
What I'm trying to say is, I think we should take advantage of the expertise that we have here. And the passion and the interest Mr. Monet has for this particular issue. And going forward, I'd like the board to consider appointing him point person on this issue. And to take direction going forward, coming back to the board and to the community at the work sessions with your report and at the board meetings each month and asking for
Yeah.
input.
Yeah, I think she's pretty much done it now.
We're doing it now, but I'd like the board to consider making.
Make it like a formal.
We
Love you.
can't do it today.
Yeah.
Oh, nope.
Not even listening now.
Yep.
That's a bad decision.
Not listening. You have
Good decision.
left, right, so that's why you have to be listen. So I'm just throwing it out there.
Sure.
For everyone to consider, if you can support that, I encourage you to let the board members know that, Mr. Monet might be a really good resource based on everything he's done so far to lead us forward. Going,
I
in the future.
appreciate that. I really appreciate that. The only thing I can say to that is, yeah, I openly admit, coulda, woulda, shoulda, I'm not an attorney. I'm told many times I should have. But that being said, or it's know how to read.
Yes.
So when it comes to statutes,
Read
rules,
case well.
yeah, yes, that's
Yeah.
that crazy memory.
So
So,
if that were to happen, if the board would see doing that, then it would also make sense that you be allowed to also talk to our attorney. Seems like we're spending an awful lot of time and money with our
Yeah.
attorney.
I
And
would,
you're excluded.
I would love to have the opportunity, but I'm just not allowed to at this
Well,
point in time.
That's the
So,
point.
yeah.
So I think with
Yeah.
some resident input in the board to consider maybe what's the best way for us to move forward.
I guess one comment I'd like to make about my legal craziness, we'll call it, is that I'm a firm believer that generations of people, and this is, the revised statutes goes back to 1846, spent a lot of time and years putting these laws, rules, regulations in place. It is not for me to take it on face value that I can just twist it to suit my needs, because I think it's disrespectful to the process. What needs to happen, but this is for me, is that, and I fully believe all laws should be challenged, because, or if you do not challenge, nothing changes. So at the end of the day, I think it's good to look at them, what they were meant for, what they are intended for. And when I do my research, I even try to find ancient state attorney general rulings to make sure that they're clarified for the people. So yeah, so thank you, Patty.
Thank you all.
Sure.
You didn't use up your 5 minutes, Bill.
Oh, I didn't even set a timer. Oh, well, that's fine. We're here.
My wife asked me if I was coming to this meeting, and I said, why should I? It's gonna be 4-1. I really appreciate you guys.
How could,
I'm an independent.
it can't be 4-1, there's only 4.
Well, 3-1.
Yeah.
I get it.
I'm going for it. I'm with you. We knew that ahead of time.
But you know, sometimes you'll get bad things.
Well, and to that point, this wasn't to be called today to be disrespectful. This is to reinforce the idea that every person on this board has an equal voice. And with that voice, as I stated, comes the laws and statutes that grant us the authority that if we want to move forward with something that seemingly cannot be done because of someone else in an authoritative or what's deemed an authoritative position, won't call a meeting for us to act on something that we had the right to do it. So thank you, Bill. Anyone else?
April Carnes. I'm usually on the other side. Not just sitting, but
Yeah.
you know where I'm from. But I would like to reinstate that I think that was an excellent recommendation to consider, that it get moved to you. And if you need to add like people, community people, like what came to the planning commission, we had both sides, working with the planning commission for input. I think that would be excellent too. So
Well, thank you.
That's-
Thank you. Yep.
thank you for all your time.
Yes, thank you. And this is truly about, we all know in life, there's just a no-win situation. This is truly just saying that it may not happen for a few years, but I talked to a legislative aide friend of mine again. They're working on another House bill, and this goes to Treasurer Hopp's comments at the hearing, that it's coming down the pipe, that they will ban they'll make it illegal for townships to ban rentals. And when that happens, I don't want us to have to go through this again. It's too contentious. It's too crazy. So I'm trying to find a way that we can make this work, make it palatable for the community without, oh, yeah. Yeah, it all comes down to money. So right now, Michigan Township Association, I'm not a member, but I'm actively reviewing all their stuff, that the 6% use tax is only being pretty much claimed. I'm not going to say in full because I don't know for sure, but I'm just going on their reports, is only being collected by pretty much Airbnb. A lot of other, like HomeAway, Verbo's done a little bit. Okay, so at $2 million monthly, give or take, in 25, state of Michigan's never going to give that up. And when they start collecting more of the use tax, even more, and really crack down on it. Now, for you guys, to me, this isn't a bad play. And I'm not saying it's the best thing for renters, April, or the people who own the properties, but they're also looking at, because of the administrative cost associated with these ordinances, if done correctly, in my opinion, they're also looking at putting into the House bill that there will be a 3% surcharge added on that will directly be diverted to the townships with where those rentals are located to offset the administrative costs. Right or wrong, I know it's another tax. That's not my say. I'm not the state, but I think they understand just how costly it can get. So, yeah, thank you. Anyone else? Mary Jane?
Contemplating coming up.
Contemplating, yeah. Mary Jane Dolan, Lyon Township, and along with others, I do want to thank everyone up there for your work. I know it's a lot of hard work that you put into this role, and it's not always, I'm sure the appreciation is not always expressed. Right or wrong, agree, disagree. It's a lot of hard work that you guys put into the job. My Mary Come Lately comment is that I'm confused by the comment of representing all of us, saying that short-term rentals are what we want, when the comments that I heard at the last meeting was that the email and phone calls were running very much against that. And all the discussion last week was very much against having short-term rentals within the township. my understanding that I took away from it was it was leaning into it because of what's coming down the pipe from the state.
Yeah.
Not that their residents are supporting. The majority of residents support having short-term rentals within the township. That's my comment. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
not everyone is here to hear it.
Right. If I can just make a quick comment. So this is why I'm against the police power. I don't think it gives any rights to the people. I think right now, you know, I think townships all over the state should be sued because they're allowing them they're not expressly listed. And then it goes to what I said about exclusionary zoning. The state's had very few cases brought forth in them that, but it is possible. This is a tourist area. This is, the state-owned lake. They have a lot invested in this area as well. And I'm not going to the state, but I'm sorry. How can you not say, anything about the state when the lake's the state? I mean, but anyway, at the end of the day, that if there was a protest put together by the people, if we completely ban them, which I guarantee is going to happen elsewhere, I'm just saying for the record, then if they put together and showed that need and can prove it to the state, collects a ton of money from this, how do you think they're going to rule? You are in violation of their own, under the Michigan Zoning Enabling Act, of exclusionary zoning, and courts have ruled before it is prohibited. So once again, we're back to try to find something, I guess. I don't know. Well, yeah. So anyway, thank you, Mary Jo. Thank you. All right. Anyone else? All right. I'd like to. Sure. John, go ahead. Yep.
So Smith people can move a little faster.
Can. John Davis, Lyon Township, and yeah, I appreciate you guys getting together doing this. But I gotta tell you, I'm so damn confused. I just hardly can stand it. What she just said about, so many people against it. And a little while ago, you said, well, there was only a few really when it comes to the total residents, 1,500. Maybe how many responded?
Sure.
15 or 30 or whatever it was she said. Yeah. Okay. Now, Mr. Bertrand has publicly said he's here to represent the people that voted for him. Okay. But you all ran on this ticket that said, we're going to restore democracy. That was what all the signs said, restore democracy, and everybody's going to have a say. Well, I was going to ask here quite a while ago, how many people had a say in what color this building got painted? I've talked to some people that said it's hideous, and others said that's just an example. I had a guy ask me this spring, how are we coming on that sewer? Have they started digging yet? Yeah, so when you said, well, we only got 30 people to respond, must be the others don't care enough to respond. They don't know. I guarantee you, they don't know what's going on here. The bulk of the people does not have a clue what you guys are doing. It's always the same people that you see come to these meetings. And I think you want a starting point. My recommendation would be poll either all the residents or hey, just if all you guys want to do is do what the voting people wanted. But have a get people or do like what tried to do when they started the sewer thing. Everybody gets contacted. You go yes, you go no, or you don't. You publicly say you don't care. And that goes on record. Because what you guys are doing, it's not just for you and us. right now. What you guys are doing is gonna last a long, long, long time. And I, I really, really am confused as to who or what is pushing this thing? What is the driving force here? Why do we have to have a short-term rental? Was it, are all these people you got petitioning and for it? Or, I mean, if I wanted to do it, I'd be for it, but I don't understand who or why or how you guys are responding to something that clearly only a few people want, and those are the people that want to rent their places. I hope you think that over. Thank you.
But John, this has been going on for more than 25 years. The STRs,
All right.
you know, one,
And that's, well, it's one way to handle it. We're not gonna have short-term rentals, period.
that's what Garrett is wanting.
Well, why, open this can of legal, how much money have we already spent? Township already spent on this? And why you gonna open this can of worms up? It sounds to me like no matter which way you go, there's gonna be people that aren't happy.
So John, let me ask you this as well. Were you this boisterous when the last board passed a short-term rental? Just question. Yes, no?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. So why?
I was, yeah,
So you were okay with the
This board is trying to listen. The other one maybe didn't.
okay.
So you were okay with that, yours, but not ours.
I wasn't with it.
You said you had no problem with it.
No, I wasn't involved in it, like,
No.
you asked me, was I involved in it, like I am with this one? Yeah, I talked to Eric, and I talked to Lynette, and talked to Susie about it. They all knew that I was against it, but I was, more passionate.
And when Timothy mentioned this the other day, I don't want to beat a dead horse with it, but sometimes the hypocrisy, is out there for all to see. That's all I'm saying.
Well, I said it once, I'll say it again. If you're in favor of it,
I could, to be honest, I could care less if they were here.
I'd rather next to, yeah. But if you live out where you don't have any renters beside you, I understand it.
I'm gonna make a quick comment, Jim, if you like. So yeah, I had brought this one once before. Acme Township, for example, before their short-term rental ordinance, did an excellent job pulling the entire community. I think that's the one I'm referencing. It was really good. I mean, it was like 10 pages long of all these questions and and whatnot. It was really, really insightful, and that wouldn't be a bad idea either. I guess I'm gonna play a little bit of, I don't know. Oh, I know what I was gonna say. One of the reasons I brought that up about the complaints coming in is because it is truly, I don't believe in human nature. You say people are unaware, but we don't know that they're not aware. There are just a lot of people. It is not human nature to always come forward and be like, yes, I'm writing you because I really think short-term rental should stay. It doesn't really, human nature doesn't work that way, in my opinion. People don't come forward to say, unless, because they don't have a vested interest. So if they don't care if they're there, that was why I was making the reference. And then I'm going to play devil's advocate a little bit here. Okay. That we're trying to find a way to make it reasonable. And there's a lot of money that comes to this community for as far as the people who rent up here. We know there's hotels and motels and everything else where people stay. We know that people are employed from this, and this. Okay, so just because, and I don't mean any disrespect whatsoever, is that on record? Just because it's not your way and everyone that wants a full ban doesn't necessarily always mean it is the complete wrong way. Because if we don't come together somehow, then that means for the 30 letters that came into the township that want a full ban, so then we ban them, how many over here then? Or if we do it this way, how many over here? So I feel much more comfortable trying to find a way to listen to your concerns with stricter regulation, with that little bit of zoning, space them apart. Hell, each East Jordan Township has them 1,000 feet apart to make sure they're not on top of each other. So I just believe in my heart, I cannot believe that there isn't a way to make it a viable option for the community. So,
So, once again, why don't you then take a poll, take a legitimate,
I'm not saying that's a bad idea. Absolutely. I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Absolutely.
and Kevin, to your question about why why wasn't I this vocal? I don't understand, a couple years ago, exactly how many people were, involved in the short-term rentals? And how many people are buying up homes just to be short-term rental landlords? And I also didn't understand but now I do from going to other townships, Lake Township, for example, in particular. It's a mess, and I don't understand why we're even opening the can of worms. Again, that's me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
how do you know?
Yeah. If you don't
The
do,
guys that voted for you, because I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna guess that there's some few people that voted for you that live here that have never had a short-term rental next door.
Yep.
But when they do, you'll be in trouble.
oh yeah. And for the record, I'm not pandering to anyone. No, not at all. I have no skin in the game. It's fine. Yeah. So, I'm just trying to hear what's out there. And like I said before, if this doesn't work, we will move on. This is just a starting point. How's that, Patty, again?
I don't think I've made myself clear before. And I should have. I know you know this.
Yeah.
I fully support what Gary's Township has done.
Absolutely.
They put an incredible amount of work, planning commission, and did their homework and went places that had quality lakes of our quality, the ogliotrophic, whatever category we fall in. It's a tough one. In a perfect world, since we share the lake, it would be great if you guys could open your mind and think about going that direction.
Well, let's.
And I know you have some
They-
concerns on whether or not that's going to.
Yeah, well, no, they went straight police power. Straight, 100%. So I'm not on board with that because I looked at
We
the,
also have a sunset clause.
doesn't matter, it's still 4 years from now.
Trust me,
But I have read,
record.
yeah,
I thought it was genius. It was creative.
I'm not
They
doing it.
outside the box. I'm very
Yeah.
proud of them.
What I don't like is,
Distance from the township line, I'm like, could it be annexed?
this could be in anywhere township, any township USA, is that what I don't like about ordinances that read that way, because in this case, I've read their entire, what I call master ordinance, and even theirs clearly says, uses that are not expressly listed are prohibited. So because they put a sunset clause in, everyone gets a pass for 4 years and it's not illegal when they still are right now.
I'm,
That's tough. So, but I appreciate, I know what you're saying. It's,
yeah, I've had 18 years, give or take, living next to it. So I've done my time, and people who haven't had that experience really.
once again, remember, we have an ordinance officer that any of those violations, where an agent may be, if any of this moves forward,
It's quality of life altogether.
yeah, they're not, the permit will be per lickety split, in my opinion. That's it. I'm not giving a pass to anyone if they're not going to follow the rules. So. Okay, thank you again.
More public comments?
What do you assist? I own property,
I didn't hear a name, sir.
Don Richards,
That's better. Thank you.
own property on the lake, on West Higgins Lake Drive. My family has owned that property since the 1950s. So we're not Johnny come lately, and I've seen many boards come and go here. I would just encourage the board to be very careful about an ordinance. If you decide you have to have an ordinance, that you don't leave it open-ended with no restrictions, no numbers, or no methodology on how you're going to determine, because I don't think the people trust what you would do then if you adopt an ordinance that there's no restrictions in. So I just encourage you to do that because
I'm all about restrictions.
you're going to be responsible for enforcing and managing that.
Right.
So you better come up with something that you can enforce and manage.
Thank you. At the end of the day, once again, the agents and the people responsible for these rentals, they're going to be on the hook. We're not going to let them off easy. That's their job. That's their duty. I look at it this way. Although the courts have ruled it's not the same classification as a motel, I don't care. You go to a motel or hotel, you have a complaint. Who do you go to? The front desk manager. I want to make sure that people have a recourse that you can complain to. And if too many complaints come into Bruce, number 3, number 4, whatever the board decides, that permit's gone. If it can be proven of certain, obviously we're not going to just, we got to investigate first. So. Yes. Anyone else? Sure. Sure. Yep.
Nanette Gugamus, Line Township.
I didn't get that, ma'am.
Nanette Gugamus.
Okay.
Full-time, year-round resident. I live real close to this area, and I just wanted to let you know how many short-term rentals there are currently in my area. I'm talking between Taylor and Elm Street, about 3.5 blocks, probably about a block off the lake. There's a blue place with 5 cabins, and I looked at Verbo and the different sites. They advertise 46 people they can hold there. The lodge can hold 100 people. Cedar Shores has 3 cabins. They can hold 21 individuals. The Dragonfly right down the road here can hold 6. Trustee Detmer said another place was real close to him. I'm not sure. I couldn't find it. So that's 173 tenants within a 3-block period. Now, so that area is totally saturated with short-term rentals. And I'm not asking for any of those to go away, but I think that they should all be regulated. I don't care if it's a lodge. I don't care if it's a cabin court. I don't care what these other definitions are. If you're having people there from 1 night to 29 nights, it should be regulated. And when you have places that have almost 50 or 100 people that can be there, there should be a manager or somebody there 24/7. A manager who's there from 8 in the morning to 5 at night, Monday through Friday, doesn't do a lot of good because the problems typically happen after hours at 2 in the morning when people get out of the bar. And when you talk about people renting places and they've had it in the family or whatever, and it's been a rental place for years and years and years, well, I'll tell you what, 25, 30 years ago, people came up here with a little aluminum boat and they went out like fishing. They didn't bring their side-by-sides and their quads and their scooters and all of this going on. So I think there's a lot to think about and look at when it comes to the short-term rental.
Yep.
That's all I have to say.
Thank you. Can I make a quick comment? I promise, Cliff Burn.
And one,
Yes, because we would run into a problem and you have to look at this. That's a state issue. We'd have to look at it differently. If the classifications would fall under lodging, this, that, or whatever, there's rulings on that. And we can't, unless you go into zoning and do something with that, just say, put them under courts have ruled you can't. You can't put a single residential dwelling in this that's used in a commercial manner in the same category as a facility or lodging. They're completely different according to the state. So I hear you. I would love to look into it. I love a good debate. I will definitely look into it. Yeah,
definitely a good point. Thank you.
it is a very good point.
These resorts or cabin
Yeah.
areas or whatever,
Hmm.
there was a main house and person who owned that area lived in that house and rented the 2 or 3 cabins around it. So they maintained it, they controlled it, they knew what was going on.
Which is great. I think it's awesome.
And that's not going on now.
Yeah, it's a foundation thing. She's up to the violation.
Yeah.
We've heard that many
Yeah.
times.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, thank you. Yes.
And as John said over here, a lot of people maybe not complain about short-term rentals because they've never had one. They've not.
That's fair.
And it,
Very fair.
people don't complain about what they don't experience.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Thank you.
thank you. That's all right, Bill. You always said I talk too much. I might as well let you have some.
Bill Cleves, Lyon Township. Is there anything in your ordinance that's gonna do anything for fire inspection?
We have no ordinance yet.
But
This is-
if you have one, have you thought about safety?
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about that. That's in the draft, but
But our ordinance man is right there, you know that.
He can't enforce NFPA.
we can't enforce it. No, there will be.
Can't afford, can't afford something.
It obviously has to be in there. Exit plans, fire safety, all of that has to be built in.
Oh,
Of
sure.
course.
Lots.
No question. Anyone else? Bill, come on up.
Do you think it can come in 10 minutes to go in the meeting? For goodness sakes.
Thought you were, over 3:30, sorry about that. Anyway, we've kind of plowed this ground quite a few times in different ways in terms of the quality of the environment around the lake, in the lake, and whether this community can be compared in any way to what a lot of people like to do, is to compare it to years ago when they thought that the water was cleaner and they thought this was better and the air smelled better and the trees smelled better. And all these are, subjective individual perceptions about where we've been and where we are right now. And one of the reasons that I had some major objections to one of the reasons to the sewer system project here is because I could see that this was going to open a big can of worms for development here. And development is going to bring more boats, more motorcycles, more off-road vehicles, more people, more late night parties.
Yeah.
And to the extent that you don't have the separation physically because of septic versus well and stuff like that, it had some kind of a constraint there. Now, opening it up and making it possible to stack these places so close together because you don't have to worry about where the well is, because the well can be any place because there's no septic system. That changes the character of this thing at light year speed. And I have some real concerns about the rental situation here. I'm not sure what the compromise is. Hopefully there would be some kind of a compromise here, but bottom line is that I come down to, before I even get into the weeds on, how many people should be able to stay there and whether we should have a fire inspection. One of my main concerns is what was just brought up a minute ago here, is that if you don't have the capacity to manage, which means you have compliance for an ordinance, and if you're not willing to spend the money with, lawsuits, and I guess you could have them either way, then an unenforceable ordinance is probably more of a nuisance than it is a benefit.
Agreed.
And if you can't manage the ordinances you currently have, and there's been some evidence about that, in my mind anyway, then I'm not sure why we need to create another problem that we can chase. Because it's not going to be a maintenance-free project if we open this up liberally to short-term rentals. I've been a short-term rental person in a sense, out of state, but the minimum that I usually rent for is like 30 days. Now, 30 days is a long time for somebody to probably pay the rent on a waterfront place here. And if you have friends and family and buddies, you could all pull your resources and come piling into a property here and make a neighborhood pretty damn uncomfortable.
Hmm.
So those are the kind of concerns that I have. And I don't know how you budget or anticipate the costs involved here for compliance. Now, we're on our third compliance officer here in what, a year or, I don't know, a year or two?
Yeah.
Are we going to be able to have enough compliance capacity, enough compliance experience with something like this to be able to really keep track of what's going on? And it's, in a way, it's resemble as the fire department operation in some ways is in that, you know, a lot of the problems occur not necessarily during business hours, but they occur after dinner time, in the middle of the night. Now, who do you call besides Ghostbusters at 2 o'clock in the morning when people bail out of the, somebody said we had a bar?
911.
We have a bar? 911. Well, we know how good that is, unless there's some kind of a imminent threat. During the summertime on the weekend, the sheriff department, state police, they're pretty doggone busy. And you can call them and they say, okay, sir, we'll send that out to our officers in the field. Well, their officers in the field are usually pretty stretched anyways. And where are they gonna, who's gonna show up? Because you got some people drinking beer and driving on your lawn when nobody is being threatened. It's going to be what you call a second, third tier kind of call, which means that we're right back in the same situation again, from a practical standpoint, in that we don't have anybody to really react to the problems while they're happening. And will the sheriff's department, unless it's some kind of a public nuisance, like something that was disrupting, you know, the serenity of people's life, who's going to go ahead and show up out here when somebody has a problem next door? And that's where it seems to happen. Maybe there is no way to go the other way. Maybe to do nothing is kind of like the Wild West thing. And that's pretty much the way we've had it. We haven't really had anything that really wrap this thing up. And I can tell you one thing too, that I learned from somebody this last winter, is that there are people that are renting in some of these short-term rental apps that are dodging their own regulations for the company that's advertising these things. I'll give you an example. There's a website called Furnish Finder. Now, theoretically, they only rent for 30, you can only rent for a minimum of 30 days. It was originally started by traveling nurses who had to go and be on duty someplace in another city and be there for a while. Well, they're getting around this in some places because they require a tenant to sign a 30-day lease or agreement, but then they're slipping in an escape clause. And if for some reason, which the renter doesn't have to really prove, they have some kind of what they consider to be an emergency, there's a way that they can bail out of that. And I think they're actually scheduling around that contingency and that loophole. So it's hard to know, you know, I don't think we're going to be getting into very many long-term rentals here. And 30 days is pretty far out there for most of the rentals that take place here. But when you have something that's like a one-nighter, a two-nighter, or a three-nighter, a weekend, people come here, they spend the kind of premium money that they have to spend to rent a place here, and they're going to have a good time while they're here, whether they're disrupting your dog with their fireworks or keeping you up with their funk music at 3 o'clock in the morning after they're home from the bar. So that's really, I'm just saying this is a complicated thing and it really needs to be thought about carefully. I don't know how you anticipate the legal aspects of it either way, by not doing it, by doing it. And there's other people who have legal training that I'll leave that to.
Me.
There's a lot of pitfalls one way or the other. Pardon me?
Wrap it up. You're over your time already.
Okay, I'll wrap it up.
Okay.
So I'm wrapped up.
Yes.
I got one question for you.
My time's over, sorry.
You can answer my question.
This time is up.
Lots of ordinances that, you know, haven't been enforced, because I'll make sure I get with the ordinance officer, find out what,
Waste.
what's that?
Burning yard waste.
Was there, did you make a complaint about it, or
I have. One time I was told to call 911.
not to you?
The clerk office, this is probably before you, I don't know how long you've been here, but I was told by the interim clerk at the time, call 911.
I said, well, it's not a forest fire. It's not out of control, but there's all kinds of heavy leaf smoke and it's been going on for hours. But that was one of the responses that I got. Now, that wasn't on your watch. So.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure that if somebody comes to complain, we are responding to that.
Well, people that are carrying out harmful activities on business properties, which they're not allowed to carry out. And I brought this up before. This has to do with the woodland down here past the red store. Well, this guy's burning stuff all day long. I'm going to explain it to Paul. Paul was the compliance officer, and his response was, well, I've driven by there a couple times. I haven't really seen him burn anything. And the one time I saw a little bit of smoke, it was probably like a recreational fire. You don't have recreational fires on commercial properties, on business properties. So I think that there's been very lax application of the problem.
Well, right.
Resident.
So as I know,
That's the question.
fire, you know, every complaint that comes in is being followed up on.
Every single one.
With Bruce now, yeah,
Yeah.
I would agree with that.
So
Yes.
I don't know if this happened in the past, you know.
Not before.
Well, we sent you the communication, and when I complained to Paul about it, I
Well,
said, well, take a photograph of it. So guess what? I took the photograph of it and I sent it to him. Then I got this runaround from him. So
hopefully we're going in a different direction.
if you're Paul's friend, you may get different kind of justice than if you're not Paul's friend. So I want you to know, I got that formal. Really glad. Okay, I've been happy to give you a formal complaint. But from what I saw, and I drove by her, she's burning in around. Doesn't matter what she's burning in.
All right, that's a discussion I would say for another time,
Yeah,
guys.
Nothing to do with the subject too. Let's move on.
Yeah.
Seeing truckloads full of wood.
Yeah.
They don't have a
Yeah.
permit to process wood, they have a permit to sell.
All right,
But processing, burning.
yeah, I want to bring this back around to your point real quick, that, I would hope, because everyone has a phone and it would be taken very seriously. If there's anything that happens overnight that 911, let's say if it were so egregious or like they wouldn't respond. I've done this before in the past and I love it. It's indisputable evidence. Get your phone out, record the noise, record the cast, give it to the ordinance officer with a formal complaint the next day. Boom. Try to say it didn't happen. Okay, there's strike one. So,
Well,
Completely on subject.
I'll finish answering Kevin.
Yes, now he's been.
He's done? Thank you very much for the invitation.
So much.
thanks, Phil. All right. Any other comments? Oh. Sure, real quick. We'll give it till 4 o'clock. That's 3.5 minutes in. That's it.
Mary Jane Dolan,
Sure.
again, from Lyon Township, and not a tip for tat. Kevin, you asked earlier of a different gentleman why he was not so vocal previously. I was not vocal previously either, or I wasn't vocal previously, but since summer of 23, when we sold our cabin on Haynes, we've experienced not good neighbors of short-term rentals. So we had no direct interaction with them in our previous, and then the one at the old address, the one 2 shores down that I have to listen to people fighting over shared driveway. I haven't had a good experience now.
I'm not saying
So it's,
anything, like I said, I don't care if we ban them all, to be honest with you. That's not, no, my vote would be, I can go either way, I'll put it that way. But the more I hear from the residents, yeah, there's a lot of complaints, which, I mean, I feel for people who live next to these. Now, they're not all that bad. So I just think we're trying to do something fair for everybody, whether that's, when we get into the ordinance limitations, enforcement and whatnot, that's when you're gonna find out if it's working or not.
And with distances, you will.
Distances, yeah.
There's on both sides. That will not happen. Somebody will not be flanked with renters on both sides of them. once we put the distance requirement in there, that will not happen.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel for people who live next to them. And I just trying to do something that's,
But we have to start somewhere.
yes, and this should have been done 6 months ago.
Planning commission revision, was the distancing requirement still in there or did they get nixed?
They left it up to us. They took it out and they're gonna leave it up to us.
Okay, because my recollection was it just got nixed. And
Oh, I know, no, it's not, it's not nixed. They nixed it because they wanted us to make the determination, not them, which is part of,
Okay.
well, it's here.
Yeah,
Oh, well, I had spoken to Sam, so maybe, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
500 feet is in the,
was, but I'm not sure that it
Yeah.
stayed that way.
yeah, there's a lot of good in the planning commission. There's a lot of good in their recommendations.
Well, there's some additions,
Yeah, there's some additions. and I-
absolutely.
Kindly review it
Oh, my, God, yeah.
carefully.
Oh, yeah.
Only if we go that direction, once again.
There, we
Yeah.
might have kindly consider keeping that requirement in there. Thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, 4 o'clock. Anyone else, I should say, we are done. Listen to me. All right, I'll make a motion. It's 4 PM that we adjourn the meeting.
Not because it's 4, because the meeting.
Yeah, meeting's over. Well, you never know with me.
I guess. All right, sure.
All those in favor? Okay, thank you, Greg, or Clerk Byrne. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Uh,
Meeting, thank you all for coming.